This video was brought to you by YugiohMint.com. Check out their selection of over 20,000 cards and prices better than TCG Player.
Alright guys, what's up? MCool40 here. We're finally going to be doing a fun little deck profile. Now, I do want to say before this video goes off, I really wanted to make this build focused on Zarc, but I opted for probably the more competitive build for the time being. Now, that is not to say that we won't be updating this deck, because we will. This is one of the... I'm waiting for the Supreme King Dragon support before we really start testing one with Zarc, but this is the more competitive build. So, first off guys, please check out YugiohMint.com. Down there, see that description? Click it. Click a link. You guys can enter MCool40 on checkout and save a little bit of money on your order if you guys are ordering from them. It would be very gracious if you guys would check them out if you ever need cards. So, YugiohMint.com. Bada bing, bada boom, down below. So, Pendulum Magicians. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a super big fan of Pendulum Magicians. Really wasn't a little bit back from the beginning, but the new stuff has kind of caught my attention. There were a lot of unlimitings that happened on the last recent TCG ban list that kind of have swayed me a little bit. I did listen to some of the deck profiles that Lithium had posted from Euros, and there were a few things that I wanted to focus on in this build a little bit more particularly, other than some of the other list. A lot of the card choices in between this and what you've seen on probably some of the other deck profiles, a lot of the choices are going to be very generic. So I just want to say that up front. So, 3 Scroll Combat Joker. This is essentially... I don't know why they unlimited this card. If Stratos has to still be limited, then it's just insane what this card brings to the table for this particular deck. So, of course, 3 Stratos, man. No reason not to play this. When you can utility for pretty much any card in your deck, there's absolutely no reason not to play it. Triple of this little magician chick. Now, just to give you guys a little rundown of what this thing does. All monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each face-up magician in your pendulum scale. Alright, magician monster with different names. No one cares about that effect. That's the irrelevant one. So, unfortunately, this thing can't be special summoned from the extra deck. Okay, it's not like we don't have Oath Dragon to go fix our shit. This thing cannot be used for a fusion, sync, or exorcism material unless all the other materials are magicians, so it's pretty straightforward. And when this card is pendulum summoned, you just get to beam out another magician from your hand. Or, excuse me, from your deck. Someone's going to be like, Robbie, why are you reading the card out loud? So people understand these things. Often shortcutting things, often leads to bad things. But, I mean, okay, you pendulum summon this thing out. You get to beam out any toolboxable magician that you need to essentially set up the rest of your combo, and then you can literally do anything you need. Hell, this thing's a fucking pendulum tuner. No, absolutely no reason not to be maxing out on this. It's one of the best cards you have access to. Triple of our good friend... Double Iris. I love the fact that these things count as the other appropriate element. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to play Zarc, because this counts as a pendulum dragon. At some point, if I just exceeds up before late format, you know, a dragon's mirror gets me to our big boss monster. If this guy's destroyed by a card effect, this gets you the pendulum graph from your deck. So, high, 1500. Outside of that, it rotas for whichever pendulum graph you need. Of course, next up, good old Black Fang Magician. This is our Xyz Dragon. I never remember which one is for which element, but I mean, it's not like we're playing Zarc. And of course, when this guy's destroyed, you get to beam out Spellcaster from your graveyard. Really, really good. So, this is actually... They literally copied Plushfire verbatim. This is the stupid Fusion Dragon. Yeah, this card is destroyed by card effect. Target one face-up card on the field and destroy it. Literally, like, if you barrage this away, or if you resolve this with Luster, this is even more disgusting with Luster. If you resolve this with Luster, you get to pop something. If your opponent's masterpiece is unaffected by monster effects, just scale this. Proceed to literally go to town and continue on with your plays. I didn't actually think they would make another Plushfire. for us. But they did, and it's also a low scale, which is incredibly nice for this deck. Triple Wisdom Eye. I don't even need to talk about this card. This card's at 3. It's as insane as Skullcrobat Joker is. Oath Dragon. For those of you that have forgotten what our good friend Oath Dragon does, he is your generic recur from the extra deck. He's the general reason why you're going to be pulling out these from the extra deck for the use for further turns. They had to put some limitations on this deck somehow. Luster, of course. 1 Max C. And now I went a little bit more heavy on the Zoo Engine in this deck than some other people have. 2 Rat, 1 Whip, 1 Ram, and 1 Throw. Typically, if you're resolving this, if you need to Rhoda for anything, you do have options to play the Beast Pendulum scale. That's up to you. This gets you access to run over something if it's not essentially turn 1. I know a few people that played this deck have talked about Tornado Dragon turn 1 with Trident. Yes, it is extremely powerful. If you need this or this, just for additional beat sticks. It's kind of just to give you access to your overall skill trees. Now, one of the things I did like from the profile on Lithium's channel is the 3 copies of these. You can go with these. We were testing these. I'm a little bit indifferent about it. She's good. I understand what his logic was, but a little bit heavier on a Zoo Engine. Can't really do anyone bad, especially if your deck has to go past, the essential turn 1, turn 2. I believe Kamal Cooks from PPG was doing something similar with a little bit heavier of a Zoo Engine, at least in the extra deck. It's one of the things I adapted from his build from playtesting, is just a little bit heavier of the Zoo extra deck. So there is that. Now keep in mind, your typical plays, you are playing an essential combo deck. I shouldn't really have to tell you that. Just remember, Wisdom Eyes can set up anything that you need, and if you open up Luster at any point in your deck, well, as we like to say in the show business, that's game. So that's our monster lineup. Next up, spells. Once again, on Lithium's video, a very, very good example of this, and I've already had this happen to me. If this gets Ash Blossomed, yeah, it sucks. But you have to play this card with the intention of, you don't have a very consistent Zoo matchup. You can say that about a lot of the decks in today's metagame, but you have to essentially make sure when you are playing this deck, there are risk versus rewards, and Pendulum Call is unfortunately one of those cards that you're going to be faced with the task of, if it gets ashed, well, you're going into an incredibly bad situation. If not, this card will put you into the game, and I definitely think that's, once again, it's risk versus reward. You play it with the intention of, if it resolves, we're in a very good position. If it doesn't, it doesn't. 3 Barrage, nothing else to say about this. 2 copies of Desires, once again, nothing else to say. Also playing 1 copy of Upstart, just generic filler. If you want to play Zarc, then you can play the 1 copy of Dragon's Mirror. I was debating on Raigeki, but just the additional 1 further card into the deck, depending on the scenario in which we need to set up, it's okay. Of course, triple Duelist Lions. Why not Rhoda? And of course, 1 of each of these. You can go 2 copies of this, also go multiple copies of this. Honestly, depends on the situations that you think you're going to find yourself in, depending on the amount of copies that you want to run of these. But predominantly, it's not like you don't have access to them at any stage of your turn. So, as long as everything goes well. So, that's the main 40 cards. Upstart can be your filler if you think you want to mess around with changing things for combos. Extra deck, pretty standard-esque. Stardust is for Zoo. Ignister, we're already abusing the crap out of our boy Luster. BL's Windcon Dragon. So if you don't remember what our boy Beals does, this thing can't be destroyed by battle by card effect. And of course, when you take battle damage from an attack involving this card, from an opponent's card effect, he gets to gain attack. So if burn damage happens, or if his Mr. 3000 was to start clashing with Masterpiece, feel free to just start climbing the ladder to a young Yu-Gi-Oh! Adulthood. Alright, so I'm a little bit heavier on an extra deck. We are literally one-ofs here, all the way up through this, and then dual Dridents. You don't have to immediately waste all of your Zoo. I know Kamal was playing a very interesting build with dual Emeralds. Depends on how much of the Zoo aspect you want to focus on, but we are playing a little bit higher of a Zoo count, so we can be more conservative in the choices we need to make. At least with the Broad Bowl, we can float into and load up for the Dryden on the next turn, or if we need to get to the Whiptail, or for the situation that arises, we need it. For this particular one, Dweller, Tornado Dragon, Time Magician, Karen Gorgon, and Trapeze. I have not tested out the idea of playing Lightning with Utopia. In theory, it absorbs your blows from Masterpiece, but I think you want to attempt to just go for the BL's play and conserve what extra deck space you have to make your Zoo matchup more consistent for the mirror match, which I don't see any real reason as to why you wouldn't want to do that, but just something to consider. A few other things we were considering here. White Fang Magician's pretty bad, or White Magician. We've been testing this in and out of the main deck. It's been okay. We were also thinking about dicking around with the one-odd ice fusion. I mean, unfortunately, this does eat up more space in the extra deck, and you already are having to consider relying on the Zoo engine, so you're already in a little bit more of a disadvantaged position because of that. So, just something to keep in mind that you might not want to consider playing that. But we'll get the chance to test Zarc. I'm not worried about it. So, this is my take on Pendulum Magicians. We've been playing a couple games here at home, just generically testing out the builds, and I'm definitely leaning towards this one more because I just like the explosive combo ability of it. Typically, any board that you end on Stardust, Dryden, or if you need to get to Tornado Dragon with Dryden, there's also some boards where you can really explode with Time Magician from the Rhoda and just very generic things like that. So definitely, it's not bad. I like the fact that the monsters you produce will essentially last past turn 1 to get you to turn 2, which is a lot better than some games have been going lately. So, guys, check out YugiohMint.com down there in the description, please. Tell me what you guys think about this deck. I'm ready for the negative feedback. And guys, I'm out. Deuces. Until next time.